right, welcome everybody to another episode of Banter on the Rocks. We got Tim, John here. We're here for another great episode. We like to call this our Christmas episode because it's that time of the year. It's the holidays. As you can see, Tim's settings a little differently because I think he's down here in SoCal. So
Absolutely. We're outside. We're drone watching right now, as a matter of fact. We're keeping an eye in the sky.
yeah, keep an eye on them. There's a lot of those drones coming around everywhere I've seen. So good
That's
time.
right.
But yeah, uh,
Absolutely. Good view of it here.
yes, yeah, you're high up in the mountains, so that's good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But on today's episode, we'll be talking about NFL. Playoffs are just around the corner, so a little bit about that. Um, we're gonna do a new segment that we call our banter takes, and you'll see what it is a little bit, but something new we want to try out. We're gonna talk a little bit about college football playoffs, see what you guys think or what we think, how they're going, teams, and just our predictions for the next round of the playoffs. And then with it being the holidays, we'll talk a little bit about Christmas, some of the traditions we probably celebrate, some of the foods we like, things, and just a lot of, you know, Christmas stuff. So it's a very fun episode, very festive. So we hope you guys enjoy it. But before we continue, as always, just a little bit of our housekeeping notes. We are brand ambassadors for Find the Good. You can see it here. Been repping it all day today at work. Um, Find a Good brand gives back 10% of all purchases to the Mental Health of America organization. So great cause. If you order now and use our code BANTER805, you'll also get an additional 10% off. So 10% to your pocket, 10% to mental health. Um, so all going to a great cause, If you want to check out the store, the link's below in our description. So check it out. Like I said, it's that time of the year. These sweaters come in handy. Been repping it. People have liked it. Like I said, they're embroidered. Find the good in the front. Very nice and clean. Won't fade. So find the good brand. If you guys haven't checked it out, check them out. Very cool company.
But
So
yeah,
we'll.
I will. I'll go into the swing of things here
Mhm.
with drinks of the pod, if you don't mind, John. I'll start us off
Yeah.
here. Whenever, so right now, I'm back, back in SoCal, at the in-laws, and whenever I come here, like one of my first stops is going out to Total Wine, Bevmo, whatever,
Hmm.
and getting some Made West because they don't sell it up north, or it's at least harder to find up there. So, today having just the traditional hazy IPA from
Yes.
Midwest. Great stuff.
A good one.
Uh, and rocking that, but also getting in the holiday spirit here. We do have a stogie repping,
Nice.
a little puff there. But it's gonna die out, and I'm not even gonna be able to finish it. It's a little chilly out, but yeah, yeah, spice
Nice.
things up a bit.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's the first beer of our episode that we've had.
Yep.
So very nice. And that's a good one too. Um, Today, not using the cup, but I did a little tequila and I had pineapple with some strawberries. So we had some fresh fruit, decided to just blend that all and add a little bit of tequila. So I got a brand new bottle. Dos Hombres. I don't know if you've heard of that one, Tim. Um, Pretty good tequila.
I think so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's I'm not gonna say the makers because I don't think they make it, but the owners of it is just it's the two people from Breaking Bad. So Walter White, Jesse Pinkman,
Oh, yes, that's where I've heard
uh
it. Yes.
Brian
Okay. Yep, they've gone on.
Cranston, and
Is it Aaron Paul?
yeah, Aaron Paul, I
Aaron
think.
Paul? Hmm.
Yeah. So they're
Yep.
they're the founders of this brand. So pretty good tequila. I've enjoyed it so far. So trying it with the mixed drink, but that's what I'm doing today. Needed a little bigger cup. Just been a busy week, holiday shopping. Um, and it's just been hectic.
I
I
hear
think
you.
that's the holidays. So, um, but yeah, but before we also continue with the episode, we wanted to bring up one thing that we didn't really mention in our um, preview is, this past Saturday we did have, and like I said, I think we've done this a lot on our show, remembering some legends that have passed away. And this past weekend, it was Ricky Henderson. He passed away on Saturday. Ricky Henderson played a very long time in the MLB from 1979 all the way up to 2003 with multiple teams. And I know Tim wanted to share a little bit about a story he heard. So I'll pass it off to you, Tim.
Yeah, so Ricky Henderson was always really prevalent growing up in the Bay Area, playing with all his years that he played with the Oakland A's. And, just having talked about it with my dad very often because he grew up watching him too. When he had first originally moved to California, Ricky was in his heydays over there. So, one thing that he always prefaced was Ricky, best leadoff hitter of all time. He was always on base, and obviously, when he was on base, that dude was stealing everything. That dude
Mhm.
just obviously set records in stolen bases. He's a Hall of Famer. A big reason as to why he's a Hall of Famer is all those stolen bases. And one thing I was talking with my dad just a couple nights ago, and because we were kind of discussing how Ricky, he was only 65. That's such a young age to pass, and then just the remembrance, of Ricky. And one thing my dad brought up was that he had saw a stat that same day that Ricky has over 1,000 stolen bases more than
Oh.
any active Major League Baseball player at the moment. So that stat alone, I mean, kind of blows my mind because
Mhm.
obviously there is some, good stolen base guys, not quite
Yeah.
as much as we've seen in the past, but you have De La Cruz and
Hmm.
their careers are just starting off, so it's interesting to see where
Yeah.
they end up. But just that stat alone, just having 1,000 more, people are even lucky to get to 1,000. I'm not even too sure how many people are over 1,000 stolen bases in
Yeah.
their career because that number is just eye-popping. And then to have 1,000 more than anybody else, and that's living on. His legend will live on, and everything he did for the game. But for sure, just wanted to preface best leadoff hitter of all time, and just really set some boundaries there in baseball.
Yeah. No, looking at a lot of his stats, um, says he's the all-time leader in leadoff home runs with 81. Next person next
Hmm.
to him, George Springer, at 60, so still, 21 leadoff home runs. Um, though he did a lot, and the amount of years he played for a long time, and I think that's the one thing with baseball I've always seen is some players could play for a very long time. I think they sort of go downhill, but I think Ricky Henderson always stayed pretty consistent and was always a solid player. So big name to lose in baseball. Rest in peace to him. Condolences to his family. But yeah, legend lost. Um, I think like you mentioned, especially Oakland up north, the Bay Area. I think he meant a lot to a lot of people over there back in those days.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, he was a trendsetter, and kind of gave Oakland a big name, during those times. And
Hmm.
I believe he won it with Oakland back in '89, when he was with team too. So
Yeah.
iconic team during that time in Oakland. And much to what John said, rest in peace to Ricky. Thank you for all you've done for the game
Hmm.
and everybody that's trying to match what he did. And
Yeah.
condolences out to his family. But Ricky, he's one that will never be forgotten. So
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
good stuff
So.
there.
Yeah, that's Ricky Henderson, always remembering him. But we'll continue on with our episode, and first is NFL. And one of the big things I think I wanted to bring up and just talk about is this playoff picture. It's a lot more clear now. 2 weeks left in the season. Um, any big surprises from this week, Tim, that you felt like a team lost that sh was on that bubble team that even lost or one that should have lost?
Yeah, two right off the
Mhm.
bat for sure. Number one being Tampa Bay.
Mhm.
That was a terrible loss, and we'll get into another topic regarding that game too. But um, Tampa is one for sure. That's a very winnable division, and they're
Mhm.
doing a great job at losing out. Next was Carolina beating Arizona, knocking them out of
Mhm.
the playoff hunt too. Rams won their game, so they take over that spot and advance through. And Arizona looked promising. They were
Mhm.
outperforming everything, that all expectations. And
Yeah.
that loss to Carolina, I know Carolina seems to be really picking up the pace with things. Bryce Young
Mhm.
looks looks good.
Yeah, it looks
So
solid.
yeah, yep, and that team's finally coming together a bit. They're playing well and playing like an NFL team. But yeah, Arizona going out and then having their tight end Trey McBride at the end of game basically
Oh,
saying like,
yeah.
you know, that I don't know if he said Carolina was a bunch of losers or if they were, but it was, he kind of hit it right. I mean,
Yeah,
but
both ways.
hey, who'd you lose to? Exactly.
It goes
So
both ways. Carolina, I think we know I think we've had feelings about that organization, not the players all the time. And then Arizona losing to Carolina. That's a tough one. So, yeah,
yeah.
those were the two surprises I had too. Um, I think follow-up question for you, Tim, is seeing that Arizona lost, seeing that the Rams are first place in the division. How frustrated are you that your team finally gave some fight this week, but it's just a little too late?
Yeah, with those Niners.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're brutal, man. One thing that was Jimmy, who we've had on as a previous guest, brought up
Mhm.
to me about, the effort Debo is giving, and if he could have
Mhm.
given that most of the season, what a difference it could have made.
Mhm.
But you're right, too little, too late. And, it's just what a hot mess. And
Yeah.
I think Shanahan finally realized that Moody can't kick field goals. So,
Yeah.
um, no, hey, but I tried posting him, but I think he got blocked by TikTok for whatever reason. And the meme was Anakin Skywalker when he starts turning into Darth Vader. Sorry, spoiler alert. And he said like it was like a meme where he says, "I want more. I know I shouldn't want
Mhm.
it though," or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's my thought on Jake Moody missing these
Mhm.
field goals. I want him to miss more, even though I shouldn't root for us not
Yeah.
scoring. But I do want more because then we're just one step closer to cutting him because
Hmm.
it's a train wreck. And yeah, what a hot mess. And
Yeah.
yeah, as far as and I definitely have a question for you, John.
Hmm.
The playoff picture with Pittsburgh, losing to your
Hmm.
Ravens. Like how are you feeling now about your Ravens moving into the playoffs?
I think we're always in the playoffs. I think what I'm excited about is possibly winning the division because, like I said, that could give us one home game, which would be very nice, just to help us get through. Because as of right now, if we stay at number four, or no, we're not number four, number five, like I say, we're facing Houston, who we're playing this week as well. Um, but after that, we go to KC. I'd prefer to wait for KC, um, just because. Don't get me started on KC. I think everybody knows. I think they're very lucky, and I think they're going to continue being lucky, getting these calls. But I think the home field advantage could help a little bit for a game, maybe two, depending on how high we could get up there. So this win against the Steelers was much needed. I think Steelers got a little punch in the face and realized there's still a lot of work that needs to be done there. They will be in the playoffs. They will be a tough team to beat, but very beatable. Um, but for us, I think our defense still didn't look as great. They're looking a little bit better, so we're getting there. Our offense, awesome as always. Derrick Henry, just monster numbers. I don't think he got a touchdown, but still, just how much he rushed and how they were using him. That's exactly what our offense needs to do to stay in these games, high scoring games, and win. I'm excited to see how this next week goes. Houston, um, good team, a lot of injuries. Wishing the best for Tank Dell. That was a nasty injury, dislocated knee, MCL,
Mhm.
ACL, I think it was. I think the bummer thing I feel for Tank Dell is last year he was on a hot streak and then he also broke his leg towards the end of the season. So that's two injuries at the end of the season. That's just cut his time short, which is it's a bummer, but I think we could beat Houston. So I think we're in a good place because the Steelers are also playing the Bengals, and Bengals need a win out and a lot of help to possibly make the playoffs. They're on that bubble. So we'll see how it goes, but I feel good. Um, no no frustrations with Justin Tucker right now, so I'm okay with my kicker. You know, so I,
That's
I'm
good.
I'm hoping we do well.
That's got to be a good feeling, John. And
Yeah.
yeah, with Houston, what a bummer.
Mhm.
Tinkdale, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he shot in the off season
Mhm.
1 year too? I mean, that dude's been through it. And honestly, reading, obviously dislocated knee,
Mhm.
torn ACL, like that's obviously terrible. But
Yeah.
I feel like based off of the way it looked on video, that's honestly better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It looked like a total fracture. Like it
Mhm.
just looked awful. And that talk about a team that's dealing with a lot of injuries too. I just feel like the Texans in general are just kind of
Mhm.
decimated, now at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see how it goes going forward. But
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like that's definitely a winnable game for the Ravens. And the
Mhm.
Ravens in general do what I wish the Niners would do with,
Yeah.
running some clock, using the run game to their advantage, and not be so
Mhm.
pass happy all the time. But,
Mhm.
you know, one other thing too, speaking of passing,
Mhm.
Lamar is killing it
He
this
is.
year in passing. And, if it wasn't for Josh Allen just being a complete freak of nature,
Mhm.
Lamar is having just a phenomenal season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's having an amazing season. Better than last year when he won the MVP. Um, I think if he could win now, Josh Allen struggles. Not knock on wood. I don't want Josh Allen to struggle at least another week because we need him for another week for other purposes. Um, but like I've kept on hearing it, and I believe it's true. The Josh Allen's record is what's winning him the MVP next to Lamar, even though Lamar has the numbers. Because it is about taking your team further, and being that number two seed right now is a lot better than the number five seed for that home field advantage. And if you know Buffalo at this time of the year, you don't want to go play up there. So,
No.
I think that's why he's ahead in the MVP race. But yeah, Lamar, you know, I'll say I was sort of cautious with him for a while with his throwing because you didn't really see it, but I will say he has worked on it and developed as a passer compared to his first few seasons, which I'm excited about. I think he could take us far this year. I think we could, the way it looks, if our defense stays solid, we have a chance of winning this Super Bowl. And I hope we can. I want to see another one. That'll be a third one uh in my lifetime that I've been alive to see it. So I I think it'll be good. But yeah, he's playing lights out. What is it? Three? No, I think now four picks after this week. But
Yes. Yeah, four after this week.
mhm,
Yeah, he's
but
he's been crazy good. Yeah, I
yeah.
feel like for you guys, like you've prefaced all season, it's all about the defense.
Hmm.
Um, and just keep trying to keep the offense, I guess, on the field, run some
Hmm.
clock, use Derrick Henry to your advantage. That addition of Derrick Henry, I think, could be the
Hmm.
difference maker. So yeah, that's huge. But the AFC is so stacked. That's going to be
Hmm.
a really fun watch, honestly, come
Yeah.
playoff time here. So yeah, and then I feel like I was thinking about another team. Can't think of it at the moment. I guess one thing I kind of wanted to discuss too is bring back up Jaden Daniels.
Hmm.
I think he had 4 touchdowns
Yeah.
in the fourth quarter and overtime combined,
Hmm.
which I think set a record. And obviously, he's still
Hmm.
just a rookie. Um, what and then doing it against the Eagles too. That's
Hmm.
crazy. Um, your thoughts on him going forward and that team in general? Do you feel like they're going to be a team to reckon with?
I think they are. I think they have a great quarterback. I think they have a great solid team, young players. Um, I think they got very lucky this last week. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The Eagles losing Jalen Hurts, that hurt them a lot. Is it Kenny Pickett? I think it's Kenny Pickett that came in, did
Mhm.
well, scored,
Yeah,
but
good old
it's
Kenny.
not Jalen Hurts. I also think the I've always thought about this. CJ Gardner Johnson, I like him as a player. I like his style, but sometimes it hurts the team because he was ejected and he is one of those key players on defense. And if he was playing, it could have gone a whole different way. So I think this week the Commanders did get a little lucky, but Jaden Daniels, I think, is gonna be it. I think he will be Rookie of the Year. I think he's done enough to show that he's earned it since the beginning of the season. And I think he's going to be someone to reckon with. They got the players there. I think a few more wide receivers, a little bit of offensive line help will help the Redskins. Or I'm just so used to saying that. I don't know why the
Yeah.
Commanders.
How dare you?
My bad. I apologize for that. But the Commanders, um, be that team. But Bo Nix, I like him a lot. I That's one team this playoff, season. I could see upsetting anybody.
Yeah, play spoiler for sure. Yeah, no, it's really interesting with I just feel like the Eagles defense more or less, and then maybe include AJ Brown in it. I'm not too sure, but it just seems like a bunch of players that kind of bring the drama.
Hmm.
You have Carter
Hmm.
on the line, and then you have CJ Gardner Johnson,
Hmm.
where started off his career with the Saints, I believe,
Hmm.
started a bunch of fights there, then moves along, goes to Detroit, kind of same
Hmm.
thing. Now he's with the Eagles. Honestly, he fits right in with their fan base,
He
to be
does.
honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it hurts the team if
Hmm.
you're going to get thrown out like that. Obviously, I know that whatever he said was bad enough
Hmm.
for the ref to throw him out because he did take a punch after that,
Yeah.
and the other player didn't really face much.
Hmm.
Ref kind of maybe thought he deserved it. I'm not too sure, but
Hmm.
yeah, no, and stuff like that costs teams. It's whether it's injury, whether
Hmm.
it's getting thrown out of a game for just a stupid
Yeah.
disagreement. Football's football, but
Hmm.
same time you got to be smart.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mental. And then I saw a clip. I guess he went on Insta Live
Oh,
and
did
in
he?
the locker room after the game, and and I think he said he was always going to keep it real or something like that. And he's just kind of talking, which is I don't know. I don't know if you want to do all that after just kind of accept the
Yeah.
punishment of being kicked out and move on.
Yeah, I think he should just accept it and not try to showboat. But it is also just his style of game, and I think if that's you,
Yeah.
if that's your style, if that's who you picture, paint yourself as in the NFL, continue with it. It's not always going to look good. You're always going to get hate. You're going to get people to talk smack like we have a little bit today. Not saying we don't like him, but it affects the team because I feel like Philadelphia with this loss pretty much gave Detroit the number one seed. Um,
Hmm.
so he should feel a little bad because they were still in the running. Detroit's still pretty banged up. They got an easier schedule, but still, they could have made a push for that number one seed, get that first round bye. But now they're gonna have to be playing. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see. But I think a question for you, Tim. You're an NFC guy with the 49ers. The Rams, do you
Hmm.
think they have a chance of getting past? As of right now, they're going against Green Bay. The way they've been playing recently, do you think they could go pretty far, or you think they're just lucky with its very soft conference or division?
Maybe a little bit of both. I feel like they're not really a feared team, but they're a scary team.
Hmm.
They can upset you. They can hang in games. They have that veteran talent. With
Hmm.
people have been there.
Hmm.
Stafford Cup. They won the Super Bowl together, and McVay. He's just so well versed. He's a great coach with extreme knowledge, and I feel
Hmm.
like he just knows how to beat teams, honestly. And I feel like just those elements combined make them a scary team. But I feel like again, it's not feared, but it's not somebody you want to take lightly either. Um, I yeah. Besides that, I don't know. I would be shocked if they make it past a team like the Packers.
Hmm.
Packers obviously playing really well.
Hmm.
Jordan Love probably just he needs to clean things up a little bit. I know their record
Hmm.
is good and everything, but I think that's more or less just from a team standpoint.
Hmm.
That defense looks really good as well. They have a new D coordinator, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken, and
Yeah.
just what a difference he's brought to that team because the Packers defense has kind of been slacking over the last few years,
Hmm.
and maybe that was the main problem. But now that they have a great D coordinator, that secondary is, yeah, with McKinney, I believe,
Hmm.
just his addition alone has made such a
Yeah.
big difference. So, yeah, again, not really a team that's feared, but a scary team to play, just because
Yeah.
they'll beat you in the end. And
Yeah.
my Niners know that better than anybody. They hang in there. I don't know how they do it, but they beat us. So,
Yes.
but what are your thoughts? Do you feel like there's maybe one like somebody similar with? I want to hear your thoughts on the Rams, but also if there's an AFC team like that.
Yeah, I don't think the Rams are to be feared. The last few games I've seen them play, I don't know what they're doing. They're just so slow to start out, and I'm just like, what is happening? Like, is Sean McVay just picturing the Bahamas, going out with his wife on vacation? you know, because I think once he won the Super Bowl, there was rumblings that he was ready to be an announcer, ready to retire from coaching. So I'm like, is he getting
Mhm.
to that point? But I also think about it. Are they saving Matthew Stafford's arm for the playoffs? Because they're gonna need him. They're gonna have to score. So, like you, I don't. You can't take them lightly, but I'm also not too fearful of them as a number three seed. You're gonna play in SoCal, so weather's not gonna really be a factor if they stay at the three seed. Um, so yeah, we'll see. But I think the one team that I think is gonna surprise, and and Fidel's gonna like this, the Chargers. I think because of coaching, I think
Mhm.
they can
Yep.
make it pretty far. They're coming together at a good time. They still have a lot of work. They're still a very young team, but that coaching staff they have behind that team is what's going to help them win these games. And as of right now, they have to face Pittsburgh. I think that's a very winnable game, for them. A hard game. It's going to be a defensive game, but winnable. And then they're probably going to have to play KC, but the way KC's playing right now, if the refs are on their side again, yeah, they're not going to win it, but that's a winnable game too, because I think they shouldn't even be in the playoffs, in my opinion. But that's something else. So I think the Chargers are the one team that I think could really surprise.
I like that take. And yeah, I feel like just having experienced Harbaugh as a
Hmm.
coach before, it's no real surprise to a lot of us that
Hmm.
they're playoff bound, and that team is finally over the hump. And what Joe Staley, or not Joe
Yeah.
Staley, but whatever Brandon Staley left for him. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, is just yeah. And now he's cursing the Niners, of
Hmm.
course. So thanks, Fidel. I know you have nothing to do with it, but thank you. Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, in I sticking. I guess that was a good recap.
Hmm.
And sticking AFC West, I feel like this is a good leeway into
Hmm.
the Raiders.
Hmm.
It's a team that you thought was possibly playoff bound. We kind of each ate our own hot takes
Hmm.
from the offseason. Yours was the Raiders,
Yep.
and they won. They
Hmm.
won. Much to probably the dismay of many Raider fans, you know, and with that, losing out on the first pick, which
Hmm.
they need the first pick
They
to
they need
secure a
it.
great QB. So, want to hear your thoughts on the continuing, or not, I shouldn't say continuing, but just winning, and how much this is going to hurt them.
Uh, like I say, I feel like they fumbled this really badly because, like you mentioned, they need a QB. AOC, Aiden O'Connell. I don't even know who else they have right now, but they aren't playing well, and they really could have used Cam Ward, Sanders. Those top two picks could have made a big difference there. Um, But at the same time, I understand why you play the game to win. You don't play to lose. You don't play to tank. So I understand why won. Um, I would say if I was a Raider fan, I'd be a little pissed. But I know some Raider fans are probably excited that they won. I'm not going to speak for them because I'm not a Raider fan. Could care less win or lose for them, personally. But I
Hmm.
could see why some may not be mad. I saw Antonio Pierce sort of say that after losing the possible top pick, he said that, talk to the GM. That's the GM's decision. He has to figure out what to do with what, the record is. So, that's my thoughts. I think it's unfortunate for them because now they're gonna have to try to find that gem at QB, but let's see if they could develop something. And hey, there might be some good quarterbacks out in the market this year. So,
Yeah, it could be. Maybe that's the way that they look at things instead,
hmm
was the QB market of already NFL QBs versus the draft.
hmm
And then maybe just go for a position player if maybe a guy like Travis Hunter's sticking around. Who knows?
hmm
Um, but yeah, no, I kind of feel the same way. Like, what the hell are you doing? Shouldn't be winning. It's start a
hmm
rebuild. You have a new face in there with Brady, but maybe Brady will help with finding NFL talent that's already
hmm
there. And from Antonio Pierce's position, maybe he's just winning to save a job. At this
hmm
point, I don't know what the difference of, what were they, 2-12 versus 3-12?
Yeah.
It doesn't look much better. So yeah, and yeah, I guess we'll see what they end up doing. You bring up that valid point of sticking with NFL talent, and kind of hearing your thoughts on Antonio Pierce there, and
hmm
in just the quote he had. Do you feel like he's heading towards the chopping block? I feel like I've heard some murmurs of it, but just wanted to hear what you think if they're already going to give up on him.
Um, I've thought about it. I think they're gonna give him one more year, but I think they're giving him one more year so they see what the team has and then to find the right head coach to take over that team with their new young players, their QBs. Because like I say, if they get a young QB, they got to find who could really mold that QB. Because I just don't think it's Antonio Pierce. Antonio Pierce, I think, is more defensive minded. I think that's his bread and butter. So they need to find someone that could develop a young QB or a veteran QB that they pick up off the market. So I think they're going to give him one more year. I think what Antonio Pierce is doing, he's trying to show why he could still be an NFL head coach because he's done a lot for the Raiders. I think talent wise, they just are pretty poor. Um, but I give him another year, but I could see him being cut this year depending on what happens with the draft and offseason moves.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, giving him another year. The only thing I fear with that is that they're going to end up in the trap of what the Chicago Bears are going
hmm
through with these cycles of finding new QBs,
hmm
finding new coaches, and then just never get a good flow. And, the QBs lose out because they just can't end up
Yeah.
with good coaching. So yeah, that's a bad train wreck.
hmm
That, if they could veer course from that, I feel like I don't know how you would necessarily do it, but maybe wait a little bit more into the offseason and
hmm
see what's going on with Vrabel. I feel like the Titans having let him go was just such a huge mistake. I just feel like Vrabel in general, and I'm kind of shocked no team went after him this past
hmm
offseason, but I feel like he would be a really, really good
hmm
coaching candidate for any of these open positions coming up. So yeah, I would kind of want to test the waters a bit on him and
hmm
see how that goes. But hey, Antonio Pierce has barely been there. I think he's due to obviously have an opportunity. He maybe is just dealt a bad hand at the moment, but I think Mark Davis kind of prefaced that they're not, you know, all hands tied to Antonio
hmm
Pierce either. So
Yeah.
kind of interested to see what they'll do, and I'm sure he'll defer most of this to Brady. I don't know if Brady has bad
hmm
blood for Antonio Pierce after those Super Bowls, but
Who knows?
maybe
Maybe.
this is his payback coming up. Who knows?
Maybe. He can't get to
We'll see
Eli,
how.
so he has to get to the next person he can reach.
Yep. Yeah. There he
Uh,
is, right in his
there it is.
hand. So
Yeah.
that'll be an interesting factor. But
hmm
yeah, maybe they just wait a little bit and kind of test the waters. And
hmm
um, speaking of continuing to win. This is kind of a selfish topic here for me because there's a little very small chunk of change riding on the line here against one of our good buddies, Danny, with the Dallas Cowboys. And John, why do they keep winning? Why do they try?
Because their GM doesn't know anything about football and what they're trying to do. I think we had that hot take
Valid.
that that is one GM that needs to be fired, which means he has to fire himself. Um, I I also think they're just trying to show that they're not this sorry team that everybody thinks they are. I think Micah Parsons sort of has something to prove because everybody's been talking smack about the Cowboys. We've done it, based off what we've seen. So I think they're trying to show that they are real contenders. I still don't think they are. I think until they get a new QB, like you mentioned, new GM, new head coach, um, there's still a lot of work to be done, but like I said, it's garbage time right now. These wins aren't really doing much. They're losing, draft capital, draft value, which hurts them more, which, like I say, I don't mind. If that's what you guys want to do, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, us non-Cowboy fans, much like the world, you don't really seem to mind the Cowboys losing. So,
Hmm.
hey, keep at it,
Yeah.
keep winning, but just not too much. Say under
Yeah.
500, and we'll be all right. But maybe, now that they're for sure out of playoff contention, maybe they change some things up a little bit. Maybe give Trey Lance a good shot,
Yeah.
shout out Trey. We'll see what he can do.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I mean, with Jerry still at the GM spot,
Mhm.
quite frankly, what's the difference of getting good draft capital versus not? Because it's not like
Yeah.
he's going to do anything in free agency, and it's not like he's going to do anything with the draft.
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, at this point, it's just a crapshoot until he fires himself.
Yeah. Yeah. So
He won't do
we'll
that.
see. No, I don't think he will do that. I think. Like, hey, not trying to put this out on the world, but he's getting older in age. It's until the time he can't do this anymore. That's when Cowboy winning could sort of change, but it could take a while for that to happen because this guy is just, yeah, I don't know what he's doing to keep on going. The way he looks sometimes, I'm like, man, if I look that good at that age, okay, cool. If I can still do all that,
Yeah,
but.
for sure.
But yeah, like you mentioned, or like we've mentioned, we like seeing the Cowboys lose. Them winning for me is losing because they're losing a top pick, and hey, it's sweeter for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it, something crosses my mind with
Mhm,
just how Jerry, he's just so outspoken about absolutely
mhm,
everything. And I think somebody asked him about, his GM spot with the team and maybe if his time is up and kind of
mhm.
looking for some alternate. Obviously, he took great offense to that. Kind of said he was the best man for the job because he doesn't trust anybody else. And
Mhm.
it makes me think about his son. I believe it's Stephen Jones.
I think so.
And
Yeah.
he's a grown man. I'm sure he's like 50, 60 years old now. I kind of picture them being in the same box together and him
Mhm.
just saying, "Hey dad, why don't you give me a shot?" And you hear like a young Stephen Jones still try
Yeah.
to ask. And then Jerry just like shoots him down and tells him to sit the fuck down or
Mhm.
something. I don't know. But this is what I picture. And he just doesn't
Yeah.
trust anybody.
Yeah, and you saying that sort of brings up, it reminds me of the WWE and Vince McMahon not
Mm.
needing full control, even at his age when I think everybody thought he should retire, pass it off to his son Shane, Stephanie, Triple H years ago. Never wanted to give up that control, lost a little bit of the viewership, still a very popular, sports entertainment, but now that he's gone, I think it's going into a positive direction where the WWE is going, and it's going to be the same thing. I think once Jerry goes, we're going to see that same trend with the Cowboys, and I hate to say it, they're going to get good, and we're going to have to deal with hearing, "This is our year, this is America's team," because they might be really good.
Yeah, in obviously we've seen this before with Al Davis and now Mark Davis,
Yeah.
but I feel like the big difference is just that amateur haircut Mark Davis has with the bowl cut.
Man.
You know, he's just, I just feel like nobody ever told him no, don't do that. So, maybe with Jerry being a little bit more hard-nosed, Steven has tried to do more to prove himself, and
Yeah,
maybe that's what make will make the Cowboys better in the end. But
yeah.
Mark, I don't feel like, nobody told him no to the bowl cut. So,
Mark Davis, how much do you think he spends on his haircut?
dude, it's Supercuts quality. So honestly, if it's more than like 15, $20, it's a scam. I guarantee you that dude pays like $300
I was about to
because he
say,
colors it too, I'm sure.
I'm like, this guy probably pays
Yeah.
like $300, $400 for that haircut. Where I'm like, man, give me that money, I'll take a bowl and
Oh, for sure. But another thing wouldn't surprise me. I heard his favorite restaurant is PF Chang's. So, if he's eating there with all his money, maybe he actually does go to Supercuts.
he probably does. He probably does.
I wouldn't doubt it. It's like an uneven angle and
I know. That's
what a
hilarious.
cut. So
Yeah.
fresh.
But yeah, but that's our NFL takes. Any other takes, Tim, that you have? I think we've gone through quite a bit of them.
I'm interested to see the only last one I have is
Hmm.
just with the Bucks and Falcons. I believe they play each other this week, don't they? If I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm totally wrong.
They might be.
I didn't look ahead too much, but I'm interested regardless to see how that finishes. Michael
Hmm.
Penix looked pretty good this past week. I don't think that's much of a surprise. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people had really high hopes for him,
Hmm.
and I just that finish altogether. It wouldn't surprise me if the Falcons move forward. They have a lot around that
Yeah.
team. Bucks dealing with injuries. So I'm with as far as the Bucks go, though, I'm more interested to see if Mike Evans will surpass 1,000 yards to keep it going
Yeah.
since high school.
Hmm.
That's what the big deal is for me right now with the Bucks. But yeah, their playoff chances I think is the biggest thing
Hmm.
with Bucks Falcons because I
Yeah.
think they're
So
both 8-7.
yeah. So Falcons play Commanders, which will be a tough game because I
Ooh,
think the Commanders need a win too to still stay alive.
yep.
Bucks, where's the Bucks?
They have a cakewalk. I know that.
Um,
Well, we thought it was a cakewalk, and then they lost to the Cowboys.
Panthers. So,
Yeah, see, and Panthers are hot right now too.
mhm. Yeah, the Panthers are a team you can't sleep on right now the way they've been playing because they've kept it up. I
Mhm.
think even with KC, they almost beat Kansas City. So you can't say that the Panthers should be a cakewalk, but you never know right now. Panthers might be playing
Yeah,
spoilers to some
absolutely.
of these teams.
I think they really enjoyed it this past week.
Yeah.
And I would too. I would too,
Hmm.
honestly, with how they're playing now. And yeah, good for them.
Yeah.
Play a
Yeah.
spoiler again.
Yeah. No, do it. It'll be funny.
Mhm. They're trying.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's good.
Besides that though, that's yeah, it's the last big deal for me there.
Okay, cool. All right. We'll do our next segment. This is one new one that we wanted to bring up. We call it our banter talk, banter takes. And it's gonna be where I share some of my hot takes that Tim's gonna sort of share to make it seem like they're his own, and vice versa. Some of them I truly believe. Some of them I'll say this week, one of them I was just having fun with, and even though I don't think it's actually possible, I think it's still very possible, and I would love to see it. Um, but we'll be setting it. We haven't seen each other's take, so we're just gonna read off of it, and then we'll have a mini discussion and sort of see what we think about it. Um, but yeah, but I'll start, and Tim sent me his, and Bryce Young is the best QB right now in last year's draft. Okay, who was it? It was Bryce Young,
CJ
CJ,
Stroud.
CJ Stroud. Those are
Who
those
else
are the
was
big
there?
names.
That's I think
Anthony Richardson,
yeah, Sam Howell.
Sam Howell, Mac Jones
Anthony
was it?
Richardson. Mac, no, he was before, right?
It was
Yeah,
before.
because he had a couple of
Yeah,
seasons with the Pats.
yeah, but yeah, but I think Bryce Young,
Yeah.
AR, CJ Stroud, those are the top three that
Hmm.
came out of last year.
Oh, Purdy, right?
No,
No,
Purdy was
Purdy's two
like two
years.
2 years
My
ago.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, my bad.
yeah.
I should know that. My
Um,
bad.
I would, I believe it. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's just one of Tim's hot takes. I think it's one of my hot takes. I think Bryce
Oh,
Young is playing great he is the best QB right now. I think he still has a lot of development, but CJ Stroud, he's hit this wall, sophomore slump. Anthony Richardson, I think Bryce Young is a lot better than Anthony Richardson right now. At least Bryce Young could throw, even being a short quarterback. Um, so yeah, I like that take.
Oh, okay. Hey,
Yeah.
that's a bit better. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be a little bit more of an argument there for you. Oh boy. Yep, here comes John's. All right. First one here. The
It's all one.
Jaguars will release Trevor. Oh, it's all one. Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
great. I like it. Okay, so the Jaguars will release Trevor Lawrence and sign Brock Purdy. Daniel Jones will then go to the 49ers and make the playoffs. Hey, making the playoffs. The Niners shouldn't pay Purdy what he wants. Let the joke teams of the NFL sign him and sign Danny Dimes at a lower 1 year prove it deal. I don't hate it either. I don't hate it either. Um, yeah. Right now, I don't despise it, but I do know that there's some factors with Brock Purdy,
Mhm.
like maybe an underperforming O line, and then just injuries. But because I'm going to own up to this hot take now, like it's my own,
Mhm.
I think that it will be valid. Who knows what's going to happen to Trevor Lawrence if they release him after that massive contract? Because
Yeah.
who the hell is going to pay that deal? Speaking of contracts, and hey, if Trent Baalke is still with the Jags, even though, like I said earlier in another pod, that he should be fired, Brock Purdy, if he signs him, he'll pay him. No
Hmm.
problem. Yeah, Trent Baalke, hey, just keep it a rotisserie of just signing QBs and not
Yeah.
affording anything else. Pay two
Yeah.
QBs. you know, yeah, that's what Trent does. He's the best. And hey, Danny Dimes in a Niners offense, kind of like a Sam Darnold
Hmm.
scenario here. Maybe he picks a little bit off of what Sam Darnold's doing right now since he's on the Vikings. He just comes to SF. The dude can run with the ball.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm sure he can hand it off decent. He's give it, to a
Yeah.
couple of those guys. And
He had Saquon for a
just
bit.
he had Saquon for a bit, but here's where I think it could really work out. And we talked about this last week with the possibility of the Niners, if they wanted to draft Ashton Genty,
Hmm.
they worth it, and how that will cause the Niners to stop throwing the ball so much. You
Hmm.
go and sign Danny Dimes, you're not going to
Yeah.
throw that much.
Nope.
So let's turn into a run happy team with all the
Hmm.
talent we have there and how good Kyle schemes work with it. And then maybe just take the defense by surprise and throw the ball, and
Hmm.
that's what Danny Dimes can do. He'll just throw literally a dime's worth, maybe about 10 yards downfield. That's all we're going to ask. Little crossers,
Hmm.
we'd have Ayuk crossing, have Debo crossing, maybe Debo in the flat a bit, Kittle running a curl or, a slant. But hey, I'm all down for that. I
Hmm.
think it's valid. And then we can keep players like Hafunga or I don't know why his name always Greenlaw.
Greenlaw.
And then we can keep it going with the
Hmm.
defense that we have and let that kind of carry us through a bit. So don't hate it, John. That's I think that could work. I think that could
It,
work.
it,
Did
it,
you
it,
write that like just to leave me in disbelief, or do you think it could work yourself?
I wrote it because I think it could work. I could see it happening. Like I say, Jaguars are the one team that I feel are dumb enough. And I apologize, Jaguar fans, Jaguar people that are watching. I think your team's dumb enough to drop him and sign Brock Purdy because they feel like Brock Purdy is the next best thing, which he could be, but like I've always said, he's a system QB, and I think they would fall into that trap. And I think Danny Dimes, he's another system QB, and he could take the 49ers to the playoff and further, depending on what the team looks if they're all healthy. So it was a big take, but I also believe it myself. We'll see if it happens.
There you go. Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. You know who really hates your takes on Brock Purdy is Estevan. He texted me about that, and yeah, you
You
catch some
probably,
heat.
yeah, I can imagine I do. This one's gonna catch some heat
Yeah,
too,
for
probably.
sure. Right? Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'll catch heat now, because I'm gonna own that one on my own. But yeah, I mean, don't despise it. Um, yeah, I don't mind Brock either, though. I think that
Mhm.
there's some things working against him. But all right, I will send you over the next one.
Okay.
Here for you, John.
Steve Ballmer cares more about toilets and the arena tech than the team. Not gonna
Yep.
hate that one because you need a nice clean bathroom to be at peace, you know. I think it's something we all like to do. We all like to use the restroom. I'd prefer a nice clean bathroom than going to like Dodger Stadium where it's just like urinals on the wall where, some creeps just looking over their shoulder like staring at you and shit.
They throw
You
some
know.
ice in there.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I don't mind about the toilets and the arena techs. The technology. If you guys, whenever if you get a chance to go to that arena, one of the most technological arenas I think currently, and it's really what's bringing a lot of people to LA. I think the team is doing well. I think right now, without Kawhi, we're not that big, that popular, so he is worrying about all his other pieces, which, in all honesty, is about making money. And Steve Ballmer knows how to make money, and it's with toilets and tech. You know?
No doubt. I was actually gonna have a follow-up with you with that one. And I'll say it out loud.
Hmm.
I was gonna have you say like Kawhi Leonard's the most overrated champion in the world. Just because of all of his sitting out, but I feel like that's an easy out there. Because I don't know. He's great when he plays, but when he doesn't,
Great, great when he plays. Horrible when he doesn't and plays load management. I'll admit it. I wish he was
Mhm.
playing more. If it's really all injuries, it's unfortunate that we're catching his injury bug, but it is part of it. But I'm not going to take away what he did because he did do great things. But now you can't really put him that high. And I think a follow up with this, Tim, we talked about it before with the NFL. Is something like this going to take him out of the Hall of Fame running?
That's tough. I'm gonna say yes right now.
Hmm.
Um, I know he's known as the glove and him being
Hmm.
just such an elite defender. And I don't know, the one thing that I wouldn't be surprised with him getting in is he helped stop LeBron's
Hmm.
heat, when they formed the big three, and that was just truly iconic. And then he
Hmm.
went to Toronto, to a team that I don't believe had one,
Hmm.
and gave them a championship and beat another juggernaut
Hmm.
with Steph,
Yeah.
KD, Clay, Dre. So those championships and how meaningful they were has a bit of a Eli Manning effect in a
Hmm.
way.
Yeah.
But again, he's missed so many games that you can't even really call him a compiler. At least with Eli,
Hmm.
we could give the supporting evidence of being a
Yeah.
compiler and throwing
Hmm.
for a ton of touchdowns and yards and you name it. So
Hmm.
yeah, I I feel like he could get in. I wouldn't be surprised either. Do I
Hmm.
think he should get in? No, I don't know. But see, if he's
Eh,
truly injured, then that sucks, and I seem like a complete jerk for
But
saying no,
but
you shouldn't have gotten injured, man. You
but
know.
but
But
it's sort of
what do you think, John?
it's sort of what we have to think about it. And for me, I think he's at that edge. I think he has one foot in, one foot out. And I think the only way he could sort of get himself back in, I'm not gonna say for sure if he wins one with the Clippers or any other team, if he goes somewhere else after the Clippers, he'll get in automatically. Winning with three different teams, and especially if it's bringing a championship to two teams, he'll get in. I think if he could just come back and make us competitive, get us even to a finals, maybe not win it, it'll show that he is a difference maker. But yeah, I think he has one foot in, one foot out. Hate to look at the injuries, but I think when I look at the Hall of Fame, I do look at all that stuff. And yes, if you're injured, it's unfortunate, but I'm not going to let you in just because of that, because everybody else did a lot more and they've earned it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Time in is such a big factor
Hmm.
too. But yeah, it could just be the story of those two finals.
Hmm. All right. Uh, my last take, or your last take, actually.
All right. All right. Bronny will play a game and accidentally call LeBron daddy. Uncle Draymond is going to bully Bronny and call for daddy's help.
Yeah, dang, Tim,
That's so
you're
good.
tough right there. It's a tough take.
Yeah, yeah. I he is going to slip up. We've all heard the memes of him being spanked in the locker room. So, add this to it, right? Uh, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of is the
Yeah.
sound effect with that too. Such an iconic meme. Um, and Uncle Draymond is classic. Just him being part of the brand and being a big podcast guy himself.
Hmm.
Um, Uncle Draymond is going to bully him. No doubt. Draymond would bully Bronny on an NBA floor right now. There's
Hmm.
no doubt in my mind. Draymond shows glimpses of his past, with defense
Hmm.
and how good he is at it for sure. And yeah, it's calling LeBron daddy, yeah, I'm sure, Bryce does the same.
Yeah.
It runs in the family, and he could do it. Like, hey dad, pass me the ball. Hey daddy.
Yeah.
Don't know if he'll do the DY at the end. That would be pretty wild. You know, or if it becomes like a little handshake for him, like, yeah, what's up, daddy? And then just
Yeah.
like, just dap him up and AD gives him a weird like unibrow look from the corner, like, what are you guys talking about over there? Blah
What's
blah
going on there?
blah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I mean, a lot of this, it's valid. I think Draymond would bully him. And yeah, imagine if they just like drew up a play with Bronny on the floor with LeBron, which doesn't happen too often, but um, and they just called it daddy. Like, hey,
Hmm.
run daddy. And
Yeah.
then they just run a play and it's a
Yeah.
pass from Bronny to his dad and
Yeah.
they link up.
You never
How about
know.
that?
Yeah, it could be that.
Yeah. How is that how is that aspect kind of I feel like we haven't heard too much noise. I mean, ESPN loves posting things about, of course, LeBron for his whole
Hmm.
career, but Bronny, like they'll post his G League highlights and be like, "Oh,
Hmm.
he scored 20 points tonight," and they're not really commenting too much on other people playing in the G League. So,
Hmm.
um, in general, is it kind of shaking up the way you thought it would after the opening night?
Sort of. I didn't think he was gonna really play in the NBA. I think we always talked about him being in the G League. Um, but I think the one thing is all the attention he's getting, even in the G League, it's gonna piss some people off, and that's why I think whenever he does play in the big leagues, he's gonna get bullied by Uncle Draymond, by cousin Embiid, whatever we want to call him. Like they're gonna push him hard, and it's almost sort of like that the Caitlin Clark effect, where she was just getting bullied because of her name, the star power she was. And for Bronny, it's going to be because of who your dad is, you know? So they're going to want him to call for his daddy's help to sort of make fun of him. So that's why I think it's a take that I don't see it happening. I think LeBron's already spanked Bronny a few times for probably calling him dad or pops, on the court, and he probably learned his lesson, but you
Yep.
never know.
Yeah, for sure. It's not too far-fetched, John. That's not too far-fetched. And I will say, as a Warriors fan and that loss we had to Memphis, losing by like 105, whatever we did. I think right now Uncle Draymond, the only guy he could guard would be Bronny at the moment. So valid take again.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so brutal there. But yeah, no, that's I'll run with that. I like
Yeah.
that one.
Good
Uncle
take.
Dre,
Yeah.
Daddy Bronny.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. But
Sounds good, John.
yeah, that's our banner takes. I think we'll be doing this every few weeks. Let us know how you like it. Some of these takes, like I say, some of them, I think we put some comedic humor around it, but a lot of it's valid. These are valid questions we have and valid takes that we think. So don't think we're just making stuff up. We really think some of this stuff, but sometimes it's just funny coming out.
No doubt. It crosses our mind for a reason. And I
Yeah.
think the funny part of it is we don't know what we're throwing in
Mhm.
front of each other, and then we
Yeah.
have to provide that supporting evidence and work our way
Yep.
through it. So, yeah, no fun stuff there, John.
Yeah,
Good
fun
stuff.
stuff, fun stuff. Yeah. But going back to just another topic, college football. We had some of the college football playoffs this past week. We got some games coming up. Thoughts so far, Tim? Any surprises?
So far, I won't really say surprises, but you know, I feel like there's some teams there that we feel like we wish we'd seen. You mentioned Bama. I
Hmm.
mentioned, yeah, we might have both mentioned Miami.
Hmm.
Um, in what a difference that probably would have made. They had some bad losses, of course, each team,
Hmm.
and yeah, I just feel like they would have performed a bit better, made things a little bit more enticing. Indiana and SMU. I don't know too much about SMU's schedule, but they did have some cakewalks, especially in Indiana standpoint, to get to
Hmm.
this point. So, that kind of plays a factor, and then they go up against these huge juggernaut teams and
Hmm.
just get stopped. So,
Yeah.
um, and one thing I was thinking about was the Marcus Freeman take. I honestly hope that they continue to win out. I guess, looking at odds over the weekend, I don't know the exact odds, but I know Vegas has Notre Dame as a top three
Hmm.
candidate to take the whole thing. So Marcus Freeman to the Bears still up in the air. We'll see about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like maybe they're yeah, but not a ton of surprises so far. What do you
Hmm.
think, John?
Yeah. Not surprised of who won, who lost. I like you, SMU, Indiana. Would have preferred to see another team there. Bama, Miami. I think there's a few other teams that probably could have competed a little bit better. And I think everybody's talking about it. The college football committee has to sort of look on how to make it more interesting, not just records. I think you have to look at conferences, things like that. I think my one concern for this next round of games is Boise State because of the conference they were in, compared to all these other conferences where Ohio State is, you know, Oregon. They're they didn't have to play these tougher teams to get in the way the rest of the pack did. So, but I also think Boise has Genty who is one of the top it, for me, Heisman winner, should have been Heisman winner that could really change the team around and could really help them win the game. So, but yeah, I think they need to look at it a little differently because I wish I started watching both the SMU game in Indiana, and I turned it off after the first quarter because I was like, this is over. It's not interesting me anymore. So hope they find a way to make it more competitive, more interesting, that they keep me glued for the whole game.
Yeah, you kind of look for some excitement in these games, no doubt, and there just
Mhm.
wasn't a whole lot to provide in those ones. So
Mhm.
yeah, you hope going forward it's a bit with you bring up Boise State. I'm actually really interested in seeing Genty turn up
Mhm.
because I do think there is some saltiness in the air after the Heisman.
Mhm.
And I think that he has more to prove, which is
Mhm.
crazy to say after the season he's
Yeah.
had. But I think that has me kind of glued to that upcoming game. So,
Mhm.
on the lookout for that one for sure. And yeah, do you feel like because it's certainly gotten like a lot of, I guess, harsh takes
Mhm.
from just even commenters on social media talking about how this format of the college football playoff is the worst they've had. Do you feel the same with that, just based off of some of these games that have occurred so far?
I don't feel like it's the worst. I think it needs to get improved. I think it's the first year they're looking at it. I like it actually because it's more football. I don't mind it. I enjoy watching college football. You know, I like those Saturday games. And I don't think NCAA and the colleges mind it because with NIL money, they're getting paid for it. So more games, more money for them, more money for the players as well. So I think they just need to find a way to make it more interesting because I think that's what these big networks, big announcers, broadcasters, commenters are, frustrated about is like the SMU game. They barely competed. Yes, their quarterback is pretty talented, but in that division, against the big leagues, he didn't show up. And the one take with Genty that I have is if he performs amazingly, he does what he's always been doing against who are they going against? Penn State, right? I think they're playing
It
Penn
was Penn
State.
State.
If he could do what he's been doing the whole season to Penn State, his draft stock is gonna go up high. He could be a top five pick because like we mentioned, he didn't do it against the best defenses, but if he could do it against Penn State and they win, and then he does it against whoever they play next, Notre Dame, Oregon, Ohio State, it shows he is a top running back and he's going to be one of the best running backs in the NFL in the future.
Yeah, I think that's super valid. And they do have Penn State, and then they would if they win, they'd have the winner of Georgia Notre Dame. So
Hmm.
you play at Georgia, you play in Notre Dame. Both of those defenses are
Hmm.
phenomenal. So
Yeah.
yeah, again, prove it.
Hmm.
Kind of mentality. I'm sure for Genty, which again, crazy to say after the season he's had, but the only speculation that has gone against him is who have you played?
Yeah.
So now's his time. And
Hmm.
quite frankly, I think just based off his highlights, this dude's he's gonna perform.
He's gonna show up.
There's a reason. Yeah. And I'm excited to see it, and I'm sure you are too. So,
Hmm.
yeah, no, that's it's gonna be a lot of fun. My feeling on the whole thing altogether, I compare it to like March Madness, for example.
Hmm.
I feel like the games where you feel like it's going to be a blowout is almost the games I want to tune into more when it comes to March
Hmm.
Madness. You have, let's say, Duke versus Middle Tennessee State.
Hmm.
And it's like a 1 versus a 16. You want to see that Cinderella. You want to see that team that,
Hmm.
has it's like they're a huge underdog, and
Yeah.
you don't know any of the names of the players on the team, but it's like, dang, like but you want to see them win. I
Yeah.
think Florida Atlantic several years back
FAU.
was that
Hmm.
Cinderella team. We've seen the team that Gordon
George
Hayward was on.
George
Uh,
Mason,
it was I think they're from
Butler,
Indiana. It's Butler, yes.
Butler.
And wasn't what's his face? He went to the Celtics after that, the head
Hmm.
coach. So,
Yeah.
that again, it creates careers, a lot
Hmm.
of these things. And, it helps you kind of find players that maybe you wouldn't have paid attention to
Hmm.
before. So that I feel like this expansion is huge. Like, I watched a game with Murray State where John Morant came
Hmm.
from, with going back to, college basketball.
Yeah.
You know, that's what kind of keyed in that name John
Hmm.
Morant to me, was just
Yeah.
watching him play in these tournaments. So again, you're seeing these players get more opportunity to prove it. And,
Hmm.
I think that makes all the difference in the world because, last week we talked about like Arizona State. Now they get to go up
Hmm.
against Texas. I feel like that's a really winnable game for
It is.
Arizona State.
Hmm.
Quite frankly, I think Texas is a huge underperformer. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Quinn Ewers. So again, that's awesome. Ohio State, there's a lot of speculation, especially with Ryan Day and whether or not
Hmm.
he should be the coach going forward, just based off of his record
Hmm.
against Michigan. And, they go up against an Oregon. That's going to be a phenomenal game.
Hmm.
Ohio State wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to be in this playoff,
Hmm.
last year even because of their
Yeah.
losses. So, them being in it, they're riding a hot hand. And we'll see what
Yeah.
they can do. I think Will Howard put a lot to rest this past week too.
Hmm. He played well.
Yeah, the game that they had against Michigan, he looked abysmal. This past week, I think he threw for over 300, and
Hmm.
I forget who said it, but somebody told a Ryan Day throw to number 4, and
Hmm.
that's exactly what he did,
Hmm.
and they played super well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just kind of compare this to March Madness and how much fun that is, and I
Hmm.
think just the football playoff expansion is very meaningful. Creates a lot more
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, it does. It'll be good. I'm excited about the games. My prediction, whoever wins Oregon, Ohio State will go to the finals, the championship game, and then it's either I think it's going to be between Penn State and Notre Dame who make it to that other side. So, and that, either of those teams making it to the final against each other, it's going to be very good. So, I'm excited.
Yeah, no doubt. You want to run the list really quick here, John? Maybe make a
Hmm.
prediction for each game
Yeah.
before we move on. I'll run through the list for you, and if you want to answer after,
Okay. Yeah.
you can go for it. So we have we have the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Peach
We've
Bowl.
got Arizona State versus Texas on New Year's Day at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Oh,
What
that's
do you
a
think?
nice game. Um, like I have my who I want to win, but then it's like my mindset of like, okay, who should win and just base. I think Texas is gonna win, but and they're just gonna win by like a field goal. It's gonna be like a 2, 3 point game. It's gonna be really close, but I think Texan comes in. I think Ewers doesn't perform the first half. They're gonna bring in Manning, and Manning's gonna show why he's gonna be a top pick in next year's draft, or after one full year at Texas.
Yeah, I I'm gonna go against you here, John. I do like the Manning take. I do
Yeah.
like that because I think that that kid has a lot of potential.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna go Arizona State. I think Scatabo. Scatabo.
Scottsdale.
This is a
Hmm.
fun name. I want to keep saying that name after,
Hmm.
they have to keep winning. So yeah, and I'll go ASU. I just don't have a whole lot of faith in Quinn Ewers.
Hmm.
I feel like in Arizona State, I think that they have a lot to prove, and maybe they'll be
Hmm.
just playing harder.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna go ASU. Next game we have 2 p.m. New Year's Day, Oregon State, Ohio State. Big game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the team I've been rolling with the whole year, Oregon State. Or not Oregon. I think they're just Oregon, right? The
Yeah,
Ducks.
just Oregon.
Yeah, with Oregon because they've just I think overall a great team on all sides of the ball, all positions. They played earlier this year. Oregon beat them. I know Ohio State's on a hot streak, so I'm a little scared, but I think Ryan Day is going to coach himself out of a job after this game.
Nice. Okay. It's a real good take. Yeah, and I'm sure the Ohio State fans would probably like that. Um, yeah, I think I'm still gonna roll Oregon. Much like you, it's a team that, again, they beat Ohio State like you mentioned. Ohio State, their low lows are just really low.
Hmm.
Like, that Michigan loss is hard to look past.
Hmm.
And I just don't think Oregon would have lost a game like that. So clearly, because they went undefeated. Yeah, I'll roll Oregon too. I think that's just a better team.
Hmm.
Next game we have New Year's Eve at 4:30 p.m. We have the VRBO Fiesta Bowl. It's going to be Boise State, Penn State.
That one, I want to say Boise State. I'm gonna go Boise State with an upset. It'll be by a touchdown, and it's gonna be Genty with a 80-yard run to win it.
Yeah, imagine. Dude, that would be
If
so
if
good.
it happens, you heard it here first.
You did. Absolutely. We're going to clip that, no doubt. Um, yeah, it's crazy Boise State just feels like an underdog, even though they're not. So 3 versus 6. Penn State's 6 seed. Um, yeah, I like Boise State too. Uh, I just
Mhm.
think that they have more to prove and they're going to show their hunger. And
Mhm.
Penn State, is it Drew Aller, right? Is
Mhm.
their quarterback? I've just seen a lot of not great games from him. I
Mhm.
feel like it's been a long time since Penn State's had a solid QB,
Yeah.
and I think that can make a difference. The Penn State's defense has
Mhm.
consistently been good, but
Yeah.
I think that's a factor. Can they keep up with what Genty has in
Mhm.
Boise State? So I'll roll Boise State on that one. I don't mind it. I would like to see your 80-yard touchdown prediction. I think
I hope
that's
so.
solid. Um, I will pose this question to you. Well, if you did say over 80 yards. But anywho, if say he doesn't get an 80-yard game-winning touchdown,
Mhm.
what do you what would you say would be his next longest run? Because
Um,
this dude breaks him out.
yeah, I think he'll break out at least a 40 yarder. I think you could do that pretty
Hmm.
simple. He just needs that
Okay.
one opening and he could get that nice 40-yard run. I think that'll be for sure his longest run, but I see a nice 80-yarder just, they're gonna do an all-out blitz. He's just gonna get through it and just take it to the house.
Yeah. It's going to be a Marshawn Lynch,
Yep.
Seattle type. Yeah, against the
Yeah.
Saints. Yeah, you bet. Next up, last matchup here, we have the All-State Sugar Bowl. And for some reason, I'm just predicting this game's going to be at in Georgia in Atlanta. I feel
Hmm.
like this is where Georgia plays all their games,
Hmm.
even if it's on an equal playing field. And we have Georgia versus Notre Dame. Another good game. What do you
Hmm.
think?
I think Notre Dame. I think they're just a better team. I think Georgia. They lost their QB, right? They're on their backup right now.
Yeah.
Carson Beck had a
Mhm.
surgery, so not gonna say his their QB isn't great, but he hasn't started the whole season, so this is a big stage for him really quick. And I think Notre Dame, they got something to prove. Um, I just like them a lot better.
I completely agree. I think the loss of Georgia's QB,
Hmm.
Georgia's hasn't looked that good this year. They've had so many close games, even with their two
Hmm.
losses. They haven't been super dominant like we've seen in the past with Georgia teams. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go Notre Dame as well because
Hmm.
outside of their first game where they lost to Texas A&M, Notre Dame's been just so dominant. So and somebody who's really caught my eye with Notre Dame, I'm obviously he's been well known all season, but Jeremiah Love.
Hmm.
Electric player. Dude had over 1,000 yards, 16 rushing touchdowns this season. Dude's a beast. So
Hmm.
that's going to be a fun game to watch. But yeah, I'm going to go Notre Dame for that one too.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's our predictions. I think
great
two
games.
weeks. It'll be good games, good New Year's Day football. So
Gotta love it. Absolutely.
yeah. But yeah, that's our college football take. And next, with the holidays, Christmas around the corner or Christmas Eve tomorrow, I sort of just want to bring up a few Christmas things. And it's sort of like traditions, just what you like, Tim. But first, the one thing we both have talked about it before. We're foodies. We like to eat. We like to eat food. Um, what is the food you enjoy eating during Christmas time?
So I've been with my wife since 2009. And before that, it was just traditional, guess we'll call it Americanized Christmases.
Hmm.
And then the real like we would always kind of celebrate to an extent with Christmas Eve, but then it was like, bed by a certain time that we
Hmm.
could wake up for, what Santa brings
Yeah.
next, following morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, so obviously with tradition changes the food too.
Hmm.
Obviously this time of year, tamales are a big, big, big deal. Um, I we went out to a family restaurant last night, got an inside look on things.
Hmm.
One of the tias of the family said, Abuelita's she's getting tired of making tamales. So I think that we're moving on to, some pupusas now. I actually had two this evening,
Nice.
courtesy of the suegra.
Yeah.
So those were delicious. Revueltas, were the
The
type I had. I know
combination.
she made some zucchini ones.
Yeah.
Yes, she made some zucchini ones. She asked me if I wanted one right before we jumped on, and I'm just too full, man.
Yeah.
That was a big meal. But tomorrow, we'll be back at it. There's no
Hmm.
doubt. So pupusas tamales. I think that they're going to be making a prime rib, so that's kind of, Americanized tradition too. But yeah, I just God, it's really hard to narrow down one thing, John. But pupusas are always great, like I said,
Hmm.
tamales. And then, if you have like a main dish of like prime rib, or if you do turkey again,
Hmm.
turkey, the Pablo sandwiches, those
Hmm.
are always just
Yeah.
great this time of year from Thanksgiving to New Year's, they're
Hmm.
just on rotisserie. So,
Yeah.
all those items are great. Yeah, so those are probably my top. What do you think,
Nice.
Joe?
Yeah, we're related through, your wife Jenny's mom. It's my mom's sister. So we do a
Mhm.
lot of the same thing, the tamales. We really don't do pupusas on Christmas, which I'm okay with because I have it throughout the year whenever she makes it. But the tamales, and then there's always like a meat, so it's either like a tri-tip, prime rib, something like that. That always is good with the tamales with that flour. You just mix in that juice. But yeah, those are the main things for me, for food wise. But like I said,
Yeah.
anything that's out there. I'll pretty much eat it.
So with the tamale straw, is Salvadorian tradition, right? Is more of like the I don't know the specific term to call it, but like more like the wet tamale where it's like in the leaf, right?
Hmm.
Compared
Yeah.
to Mexican where it's more with like the corn
Yeah.
wrapping.
A husk. Yeah.
Um, do you have a preference out of those?
No, I like them all. Um,
Hmm.
they're all good. Like I say, I think the Salvadorian ones they put a little bit more stuff into it. They put like eggs, black olives, green olives sometimes, where like the
Yep,
Mexican ones, it's usually just the meat and the sauce. Which sometimes, I just want the
exactly.
meat in the sauce. Sometimes I don't want all those extra stuff, but I always like to put hot sauce on it, so I enjoy it all.
There you go.
uh,
Yeah. And that's where my Americanized steps in is I can't handle too much heat. So we keep it pepperoni spice
Pepperoni
in
spice.
right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know it's so hard to turn something like that
Mhm.
down because this time of year they're always just it's on fire. So good.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I know you brought up here traditions. You
Mhm.
want to share some traditions that you've
Yeah.
really enjoyed this time of year?
Yeah, there's not as many traditions I would say we have nowadays. I think what me and Vera are doing are starting to do our own traditions between us two and now with Keanu. But one that I would say I sort of brought from when I was a kid to with Keanu, and I think it's something everybody does, but I haven't done it for a while, is pictures with Santa. So taking Keanu every year. We've done it the last 2 years. This last year wasn't a success. Crying. I think that happens with a lot of kiddos at a certain age.
Oh yeah.
But what it sort of reminds me of, and you could ask Jenny about this, is when we were kids, younger, at my parents' house, we'd always bring a Santa to come over and take pictures with in our living room. So we would always, and we did this for, oh man, a handful of years. Like we'd all be there listening to Christmas music, watching Christmas music, and then we'd hear Santa coming because he'd have his little bells and it'd be like cheek, 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 and then he'd come in the red suit. We have a chair, everybody taking pictures, like it was just the family. So I think that's the one tradition that I sort of remember as a kid that I'm sort of bringing back with this no new school way of going to the mall and taking the pictures because it's probably a lot more expensive nowadays to hire your own personal Santa to come to your house.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless, one of us these days, Sean, just wanted to dress up as Santa
I'm
and just,
getting there. I'm getting there.
rep it ourselves.
His
Yeah.
belly's almost there.
I'm with you, dude. Yeah. Absolutely. All you have to do is just like we just have
Yeah,
to spray our
I know.
beards a bit and
Yeah,
hey, there we
I'm
go.
almost there.
Um, you're almost there. You got it at the front.
Uh,
But yeah, I'm there with you. I think pictures are a big deal. We did them this year, and we actually did them a bit sooner. I think we expected. We did
mhm,
them like in sometime in November,
mhm,
and they had the whole Santa sleigh set up in the
mhm.
mall by
Yeah,
us, and
nice.
we just went in, took them there, and
Mhm.
they were both great. Like both our kiddos, smiled. There wasn't any waterworks this season, but previous, certainly it
Yeah.
happens, especially when they're really, really little.
Mhm.
For me, there's a famous one that my mom she always puts out every single year, pretty
Uh,
much, and I'm sure she has it somewhere this season where, I'm just bawling. My sister, she's got about 4.5 years on me, she's
Yeah.
older, and she's very happy in the photo, and
Yeah.
then here I am just red in the face,
Yeah.
even opening up my eyes, just
Yeah.
absolutely bawling. So it's but hey, that's what the tradition's
Mhm.
about. Like who am I going sitting on so and so's lap,
Yeah.
and why am I telling them what I want,
Yeah.
so yeah, but I feel like, since if you do it consistently, I feel like, the kiddos get, good
Mhm.
grasp on who Santa is and,
Yeah.
you know, try to go from there. A big thing that we try to talk about, is just, like, oh, Santa's always watching and try to
Mhm.
instill that tradition of, he's always
Yeah.
watching and, just what he's doing. And,
Mhm.
me and, me and my son kind of joke around about, why Santa's, a bit on the chubbier side. I should be one to talk.
Yeah.
But, we discussed, leaving out cookies and
Uh,
he's got to eat them all. He's got to leave a trace.
hmm
So, if he takes even one bite, out of the bunch with all the houses he's visiting and
That's
dude's
a
gonna
lot of
put it
cookies.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, we talked about how he has to suck it in a bit to make it down the chimney.
Yeah.
And, but,
Yeah.
just those discussions,
hmm
with kids and, we're kind of reliving it,
hmm
creating that excitement it's unmatched. I think it's a ton of fun and, it's become a tradition, much like,
Yeah.
you're creating with Keanu. So,
Yeah.
yep.
No, yeah. Those are the biggest traditions, I think, for now. After that, it's just hanging out with family. And I think it sort of goes to like the next sort of topic with this is how you know it a lot better. You've seen both sides, Tim. You sort of mentioned it, the American side, where, and sorry if I'm saying it politically wrong to people. If I said it incorrectly, please correct me how to say it. But the American side,
You're
where
approved.
you celebrate it on Christmas Day, compared to the Hispanic side, where you celebrate it on Christmas Eve. You know, you're up till midnight. At midnight, you open gifts. How has that? How was that at first, Tim, seeing that, and how have you adjusted to it?
So I think I hit it like spot on, to be quite honest
Yeah.
with you. I wouldn't trade it any other way. I feel like my younger years, because I believed all the way up to my senior year of high school that
Yeah.
Santa existed and I was going to bed early for a reason and, and no, it's fine. But no, just the younger years and just having that aspect of, just the belief, in
hmm
something like that and just getting festive and, you're naive to it all, but like, truly you're believing it and you're just,
hmm
you got to go to sleep. And then obviously the anticipation for the following morning is just like, it's out of this world. And then
Yeah.
you wake up and then you get excited. You want to wake up your parents that way you can go upstairs, but you can't go, upstairs wherever your tree is with all the
Yeah.
presents because, they spent all the effort of setting it up the night before. And then for them, as parents, I'm sure it's a ton of fun being able to see that presentation and
hmm
see your kid's reaction walking into the room where the tree is. It was great. I feel like that was really fun for my young
hmm
years. My parents did a phenomenal job at setting all of that up and shout them out, give them props for, because it's no easy feat. It's some work,
It
you're
is.
spending a lot of money and trying to make it enjoyable. So and then being able to spend it with extended family that would visit.
hmm
But, then meeting, my now wife, Jen, in high school, I feel like it leewayed perfect into understanding the tradition of, your guys' family and Hispanic culture
hmm
altogether of really having the celebration on Christmas Eve and what a big deal that is.
hmm
There's prep going on in the house today.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're still up prepping. So,
Yeah.
it's it's a big deal. So,
hmm
that's a ton of fun as you get older because, you're more willing to stay up late at night,
hmm
3, 4 in the morning, whatever it is, and there's the exchanging of gifts and being able to do it all in the same night, but wee
hmm
hours of Christmas morning. And, it's just more of a vibe, I feel like,
Yeah.
it's as you get older because, nowadays, you're drinking, eating a lot of food, enjoying
hmm
people you haven't seen in a while. Um, and those experiences are great. And I feel like me and Jen have had a ton of those with gift exchanges over the years and
hmm
being able to stay up late because oftentimes when it came to Christmas Day, we would go to, my family side. So then we'd spend it
Yeah.
with them when they lived locally. So I feel like we hit it right on spot and it
Nice.
was great. So it was great during the younger years to be able to
hmm
transition into Hispanic culture now. But yeah, that's my feel for things, Sean. What are your thoughts on it? Because obviously I'm sure you've held
Yeah.
to one, but
Yeah, I've been held to one, Christmas Eve, being Hispanic. Um, always enjoyed it. Like I say, I think what Vera and I do now is we do choose Christmas Day, Christmas Eve with a family, especially with Keanu, just because before, like when we were together, we'd go to like her parents' house from like 4 to like almost 10, and then I'm like, all right, well, we're going to my parents' house, and we were there till like 3 or 4. Now with the kiddo. I want to be back home by 8, putting him in his crib, letting him sleep so we're not struggling for the next few days. So what we did last year was we did one house one day at night, the other one in the morning. So it I don't mind it at all being a Hispanic. I think having something Christmas Day is also very meaningful because it is, Christmas, Yeah, it meant a lot doing it on Christmas Eve, waiting till midnight, being with the whole family, opening up gifts, exchanging that, when I was older, having drinks, eating, fun time, but um I don't mind it either way. I've always thought it was funny, when I would tell friends, yeah, I'm staying up till midnight, and they're like, well, yeah, I'm sleeping, It's like, really? Like, you're not opening your gifts at midnight? No, I'm waiting till I get up in the morning. I'm like, dang, that sucks. But now I get it a little bit. As a
Right.
kid, you're like, oh man, that sucks for you, but
Yeah. And then you leave your friends in anticipation. You're like, hey, check
yeah,
what I got. And they're like, oh,
yeah,
damn, I'll find out 3 more hours,
yeah, that's
Yeah, no
funny.
doubt. Yeah. But it's a really fun aspect. I feel like you can't really go wrong either way. But as you get older, um, maybe like on the American side of things, as you get older, you can make it enjoyable by
Hmm.
staying up late with extended family, prepping
Hmm.
for your kiddos,
Yeah,
waking up the following morning, and that's the way you kind of spend it as an adult.
yeah.
But um, yeah, you can't go wrong either way, in my opinion. I think both are so
Hmm.
much fun because, obviously the family is full of young children to, older
Older,
grandparents.
yeah.
So everybody enjoys it though.
Hmm.
Honestly, you can't go wrong. It's always fun.
Yeah. Most memorable gift you ever got as a kid, Tim? What would it be?
Oh, memorable gift. Um, yeah, I got one for sure. So back in the day, I forget what year it came out, but Sports Center, ESPN was like such a big deal. Stuart Scott and Dan
Hmm.
Patrick, Scott Van Pelt, you name it. But um, they came out with this game that was like it was like a 5-in-1 game. So you had basketball, you had soccer, hockey, and football where you threw it through targets. And it was like I think they called it like I know there was like an ESPN zone, like where like a physical building and
Hmm.
place you'd go to, but I think this thing was called like an ESPN zone. And it had a
Okay.
scoreboard. It would keep score. And at the time, I'm sure it was like a couple $100, but like dude, that thing kept me occupied so long because it had two hoops on it. So oftentimes I'd have it in the basketball mode and
Yeah.
you'd have a shoot off with a friend or me and my uncle Jeff, we would have like Christmas Day, we would just like be glued to it and just play
Hmm.
repeatedly for hours. So that was just so much fun and just because it could do so many different things and I knew
Hmm.
how to like transform it from basketball mode to then play hockey or
Okay,
soccer.
yeah.
Like it was just so enjoyable and it had sound effects. I think it had like Stuart Scott, like if you made a bucket, it would say like, "Ooh yeah," and
Nice.
and
That's awesome.
just the famous catchphrases. So,
Yeah.
man, that thing was so much freaking fun. If I could ever like, I think right now, the funny thing is, right now, Costco has a ton of on display.
Hmm.
And they have something kind of similar. It's like a Pop-A-Shot type
Hmm.
thing at Costco. It's like two hoops and it's a
Yeah.
little bit bigger, I'd say, than what I had. But I told my wife just even a couple weeks ago, I'm like, hey, you, that's what I want for Christmas. You want to buy me that? And we'll say it's for the kids, but I'm gonna play
Yeah,
it.
it's for me.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, because honest to God, I would still play it. Like I understand
Yeah.
why my uncle would play that, with me for hours on end because
Yeah.
it's
It's
just so
fun.
much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you,
Awesome.
John?
For me, it it would have to be a DVD player, I think that's what got me to really love movies. And I remember once I opened it, my uncle took me to Blockbuster because that's when Blockbuster was still around. And I rented a few DVDs, and that's how I just started watching so many movies. Why I love going to the movies, watching movies, watch pretty much everything. So it's one of the most memorable things because it's now something I do with Vera a lot. We watch movies. We have big old movie. Now it's a Blu-ray collection, not DVDs. We have our DVDs, in our storage area because I don't even think we have a DVD player anymore. But but we have those old movies
Maybe the
and
PS5.
yeah, or the PS4. I think.
Oh
Got
yeah,
to,
PS4. Okay.
I don't know if PS5 plays DVDs, regular DVDs. I don't
Haven't
know.
tried.
I don't know if I want
F's
to
up
test
the
it.
PS5
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I want to
so it
test
catches
it.
fire.
Yeah,
What is
might
this?
be it goes just hearing it
Make
burning.
some
I'm like,
noises.
no. Yeah, but
Right.
it's like the one thing I always remember enjoying. And then it's also the one thing with Keanu, he we watch a lot of Disney movies, but he enjoys watching movies. So it's the one tradition I think we're really going to start with him as well. It's just watching, sitting us down as a family on the weekends watching movies. So that DVD player really, I think, changed a lot in my life, and it's one thing that's memorable next to a lot of other stuff like my video game systems I'd always get. Those were always stoked. But that DVD player, for some reason,
Yep.
it's the one thing that sticks in my mind.
Makes total sense. Yeah, that's a good one. And obviously it opened up a ton for you, with
Yeah.
just having DVD rentals on repeat. Can't go
Yep.
wrong. It's a solid
Yeah.
one.
I
I like
know.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, last little topic with this, Tim. Three holiday movies you always watch during this time of the year. What would they be?
For you want me to name off all three at once?
Well,
Because I
you
got
you
them.
you do one, I'll do one, and we'll go back and forth.
Okay. Right off the bat, God, I don't even they're not in order. The Grinch with Jim Carrey, live
Jim
action.
Carrey. Okay.
So good.
Yeah. That's a
Love it.
classic one. It's amazing. I have that one on my list as well as one of them. One I like to watch, Home Alone. I think that's just a classic for Christmas time.
Home Alone original, first one.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the first one.
Yeah.
I
You
still
know, I
question a
saw
lot of it.
for sure. Yeah. There's no doubt. A lot of those little booby traps he had everywhere. And, just how the hell do you forget Kevin? Um, but that's such an iconic movie. I think about that movie a lot
Mhm.
this time of year too. And just even from like him choking on the cheese pizza
Yeah.
to get the soda or whatever he says to Fuller.
Yeah.
And then just I saw two dudes walking through a plaza and they were dressed exactly like Marvin Harry and they had the
Okay.
accent and it was so
That's
good.
funny. That's awesome.
Just the way they replicated their voices. So yeah, no, that's a great movie, Home Alone 1.
Nice.
Next I'll go Elf.
Oh.
Elf it came on, I forget, I think it was 2002, so I was about 10 at that time, but it was right in the wheelhouse of,
Hmm.
Christmas and but brought that huge comedy standpoint to it. It was so different than, a lot of other
Yeah,
movies.
it is.
And um it's a movie I reference all the time, much like I do with a lot of Will Ferrell movies. But just even they even got some dude just that faces dwarfism, I'll say, running on a table and calling him a South Pole elf. And
Yeah.
I and then on TikTok I see a bunch of reenactments of the mailroom dancing,
Hmm.
and just
That's a great
it's
scene.
it's it's played out. Yeah, it's an iconic movie to me and a really
Uh,
fun watch. Never gets old for me.
yeah, no, that one's a good one too. I've always had that on my list. One, I would say my wife doesn't like it as a Christmas movie. I do. A lot of people will say it's not a Christmas movie, but Die Hard. I don't know why it's one movie I always watch. It's the only time I watch it is during the holidays. And I think it's just because it's around Christmas. It's a Christmas party at a building, and it just reminds me of Christmas. And I'm like, man, this is a great action Christmas movie.
Yeah, and we gotta clip that because I feel like that's a huge debate of whether or not Die Hard's a Christmas movie. I feel like I hear that every year,
Yeah.
and nobody can ever decide. It's up to opinion, obviously, but
Hmm.
yeah, now's a great time of year to watch Die Hard. That's
Uh,
that's a that's a solid one. I like that.
uh,
One for me, and my dad's gonna love this one because, and my mom, but they laugh their ass off at this, and as you get older, I feel like I laugh even harder now. But Christmas Vacation,
Mhm. It's a good
you
one.
know, it was it's so good.
Those
There's a lot
Griswolds.
of references as a those Griswolds, man. And you know, as a kid, you catch on to some of it, but as you get older,
Oh yeah.
um, you know, just even the scene where they're like, "Hey, you know, like, where are you gonna put that tree, Griswold?" And he's like, "Why don't you bend over and I'll show you." You know, just things like that.
As a
You
kid,
know,
you don't get that, but now as adults, we're like,
no.
"What are you? How'd this get away with in this movie? Like, really?"
Exactly. And then them like, you know, kidnapping their boss and holding him
Yeah.
for ransom for a Christmas bonus and
It's
you know, Uncle Eddie emptying the shitter into the sewer, you know, it's so good. And that's where that movie I feel like is iconic is you understand a point of it, you know, when you're a kiddo, but as you get old, you
mhm.
see even more and it just doesn't get old. It's great. So I
Yeah.
love that one.
Yeah. The next one and like I say, yeah, I don't think many people like to watch this on Christmas. I like to watch Gremlins, because it's around the
Okay.
holidays. I enjoy Gremlins, Gizmo, you know, the way they make those goblins, whatever they are, they just crack me up. Like some of the characters, like I enjoyed the other Gremlins as well, but the first one's just a classic, some of the things these gremlins do just cracks me up, and it has that little horror vibe which I do like as well. So one of my classics that I like to watch.
For sure. And you know, now that you bring like horror film into it, w- Krampus,
Krampus.
you know, I watched that when it came out into theaters several years ago, but
Yeah,
that movie, man, like that's pretty dark. You know,
it's
especially
dark,
this time
but
of
I'll
year.
say I like to watch it. I've watched it this year already.
Yeah.
It's just a
Oh,
movie.
have you? Okay.
Yeah, because it's just like I say, it has to do with Christmas totally, and not the fun parts of Christmas, but it, it's not
Yeah.
the best movie, but I entertainment factor, some of the funny stuff it shows, I enjoy just laughing.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's a great film. You know, and one that you get a kick out of with the
hmm
holidays, especially if you were seeking a little bit of horror film stuff.
Yeah,
So
no, yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
those are all
But
good.
yeah, if anybody knows other Christmas movies we didn't mention, let us know. Like I said, we like to watch movies. We like to do a lot of things, and let's have that debate. Do you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie? It's the debate we hear around the internet everywhere. I think it is. What do you
Yep.
think, Tim?
Yeah, I'll roll with it because
Yeah.
this time of year you think about it. You know,
hmm
other times of the year you not as much. So
Yeah.
that
And
factor alone,
yeah.
Christmas movie.
It does. So
Yep.
yeah.
Prove us
But
wrong,
yeah,
audience.
yes, prove us wrong, and we'll take it off our list if you guys can, but I doubt you will. I doubt
Yeah,
it.
right. It's up to opinion.
Yes. But
It's a good
yeah,
debate
but
though.
it is, it is. But that's holidays, with Christmas around the corner. When this episode comes out, it'll be Christmas already. So hopefully everybody's had a great Christmas. You got some of the gifts you wanted, enjoy some good food, hung out with family. And like I say, just be grateful for, everything. I'm always grateful for just the family, good times, and I'll say for this pod, it's been awesome doing this week in, week out. Always excited to do it. Some of our takes, just enjoy talking about it and just having that conversation. So, um, hope everybody had a great Christmas. Um, thank you to all our subscribers, everybody watching. We truly always appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button below. We'll greatly appreciate it. Comment. We enjoy all the comments. We got a lot of comments this past week that we really did enjoy from our last episode. So continue coming with the
Yep.
comments. But yeah, we appreciate everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and I second that, John. You know, along with family,
Mhm.
friends, you know, this podcast is always a great outlet for discussing things that, you know, we'd like
Yeah.
to get off our minds, like we would at, you know, any type of, you know, happy hour or just hanging out in general. So, yeah, always a good time. And, you know, especially this time of year,
Yeah,
it's great. Lots to talk about.
it is. It is. But yeah, thank you everybody. Have a great holidays, great day, and we'll see you guys prior to the new year.
Yes. Merry
Yeah.
Christmas. Happy
Merry Christmas.
holidays.
Yes.